For my analysis, I'm going to go through each question of the questionnaire that I did and compare each person's response to it. First was age and gender, and for I think it was two of the people that I interviewed. I didn't ask them what their ages were because I thought it would be rude. I think it was the female teacher, and it was my neighbor. The second question was identifying Iraq on a map, and I wasn't really surprised that most people didn't know where it was. They mostly either put Iran, they put their finger on Iran or Saudi Arabia. And I think the two 18-year-old boys that I interviewed, they actually got it right, but they were kind of surprised that they even got it right. For the third question, everyone is pretty much way off with the war cost. Most of the people were saying like somewhere in the billions, and I believe two people said something like 4 trillion and then like 5 trillion or something. So no one was even like relatively even close, and I was pretty surprised about that. I thought people would actually get like a closer than what they said. Like, I don't know. I feel like people might have a closer estimate than what I actually saw. The fourth question was, do you think torture is a good/fair way of obtaining information from terrorists? And for the most part, I wasn't surprised with the people's responses because most of them said it was probably one of the best, not like a good way, but it was necessary in like war. And they said like it wasn't fair, like they don't. I believe actually two people said that they didn't approve of it, and they thought it wasn't a good way to obtain information. Yeah. So question number 5 was, why do you think we went to war in Iraq, and was it worth it? Most people were relatively right because there's multiple reasons of like why we went to war, and it's not very like concrete. A lot of people said some stuff about WMDs, which is relatively right. They said it was linked to 9/11, and the big thing was oil. Pretty much everyone mentioned something about oil. What they didn't say was, the only thing that none of them actually said was that we went there to create a democracy, which I don't think anyone said that, and that was a big shock, I guess, because I thought at least one person would mention that. Question number 6 was, do you think Iraq was involved with 9/11? Or was linked, do you think the invasion of Iraq was linked to 9/11? And if I remember the outcome of this, I think most people said yes. I guess I wasn't really surprised with that either, because most people, when they link Iraq, like if they hear about a Middle Eastern country, they're just going to think 9/11 caused it, just cause, I guess. Number 7 was, does Iraq have weapons of mass destruction, and if yes, how do you know? A lot of people said yes, and actually it's kind of split. Some people said yes, some people said no, but I think the majority of people said yes, and I don't think they really knew like how they would know that. They just said yes because they thought they did. Number 8 was, how many Americans died and how many Iraqis died. People were right for the aspect that way more Iraqis died than Americans, but they were not even close with the numbers of Americans that died, because I believe it was like, I think 1,800 Americans died and 12,000 Americans were wounded, and then 20,000 Iraqis died, I think, and I don't think anyone is even close to that. They were way higher up numbers. Question number 9 was, has the war in Iraq given the country stability? And I think for the most part, I think the majority of the people said yes. They didn't really explain why or like how it's given stability, but they just seemed like they seem to know. They think that after Hussein was removed, that it gave the country stability for some reason. And number 10, everyone was kind of stumped with this one, which was kind of expected. No one really knew like what the UN's involvement was with the invasion. Right. The war started on March 19th, 2001. The United States and Great Britain invaded Iraq and rapidly defeated Iraqi military and paramilitary forces. Afterward, the U.S. occupation of Iraq was opposed by an insurgency. After the violence began to decline in 2007, the United States gradually reduced its military presence in Iraq, completing its withdrawal in December of 2011. Civil war broke out in the now U.S.-occupied country, and widespread violence appeared across the land. The reason or reasons for the war are still very unstable. There are many thoughts or theories of what started the war, including the thought of Iraq having WMDs, or weapons of mass destruction, to establish democracy in the country and rid of Saddam Hussein, who was the former dictator of Iraq. The possible connection Iraq might have had with Al-Qaeda, and oil could have also caused the war. I'm going to explain 3 things that I learned from the project, what was the most challenging aspect of the project, and was there a difference between what you thought your interviewees would tell you and what they actually did tell you. So the first thing that I learned from this project that there was actually a lot more countries like helping the United States invade Iraq. I thought initially, I guess before we even learned about Iraq, that I guess it was just us invading them, but there was actually many other countries that helped us. Another thing was like that a lot of people, since I did interviewing of random people, just generally don't know much about the Middle East in general, or about Iraq or the war, which was kind of surprising and scary in a way, because I feel like the United States should know more about pretty much every war that we've been in. I feel like it's, especially the Iraq war, is pretty recent and huge war that we're in, and we're paying for it, so I feel like more people should know more about it. And the last thing that I learned is a lot of people don't know where Iraq is. Everyone that I interviewed got it wrong except for one kid, and I'm pretty sure he just made a guess and he got it right. So I think the most challenging aspect of the project was listening to people, and if I'm like hearing them say something wrong and not being able to tell them that they were wrong, or just tell them what was right, because some of them just rambled on about basically just random stuff that didn't really make sense. I think definitely there's a difference between what you thought interviewers would say and what they actually told you, because I thought most of them would at least have general knowledge of some of the questions. I mean, there were some questions that stumped them, and I can see why they were stumped by the questions, because some of them were pretty hard for just the common person to know. But some of them, I feel like people just should have had general knowledge of what I was asking them, and just pretty much anyone should have been able to answer them. But that was not the case for some of the questions that I asked people.